Okay, some recent work I've done. As I said, I was reverting to positive earth. That job is now complete. Here it is, the installation now for positive earth. That's battery cable has been sorted out. I desoldered the end and put one of the universal clamps on it. I've fitted these Durite coloured washers, which are a good idea. It took me, well, it was a struggle to remove the old earth connection, because the bolt they'd used, well, there was a captive nut welded on the other side of here, through the inner wing there, and it was just secured by one or two very small spot welds. They'd used a massive bolt in that, so no amount of wire brushing or plus gas. Well, it did shift it a while, but as it got to the end of the threads, which were more corroded, it just rips the spot welds out. So I've put a much more substantial nut and bolt in there with a serrated washer and brass washer up there with plenty of grease around it. So you can see why it rips that spot weld out, because the threads were bombarded with road filth and mud, and it just ruined them. So I've switched it the other way around. I've put the bolts head in from the outside, so that the threads not exposed to all that stuff. So that's a lot better. I still need to inspect the cable run, the main battery cable run. I'll do that eventually, because I want to remove the radiator at some point for inspection, cleaning and painting. I believe it's essentially sound. There's certainly no cause for concern there, but it will need a new coat of radiator paint just to preserve it. I've made a much better job of, well, I said I was going to replace this wire to the interior light feed, you know, the fuse, and I've actually found out the reason they've put a separate fuse in for the interior lights. As it says in the handbook, that can be disconnected if you're working on the car and need the doors open, so that'll stop the battery being drained, which is a good idea, nice feature. So if for any length of time I have to have the doors open for work, I can just undo that fuse, and that'll save the battery. Some of you will remember these. They are another good idea. Gives you a visible indication of how much brake and clutch fluid is in. It's just an extension piece. These are reproductions, and they're not actually the best fit. I'm just trialing them now. They were supplied with these rubber O-rings, so I've filled them just enough to get over the threads there to see if they leak or not. So far they're all right, but yeah, that's a good idea. So you can just look at the fluid level at a glance, so you don't have to remove the caps to see in. Screen jet, that's been wired now properly, and it is working now as it should. Hence, you know, with this change back to posi earth, that's working, although the auto feature is a bit temperamental at the moment. Dynamo, I have sorted the wiring out there. And I noticed it's got the manifold here as a take-off, the inlet manifold. I wonder what was there. That's been crimped, closed as that, but I could run a vacuum gauge off that or something for the future anyway to consider. What else was there? I think that was mostly it for the wiring in the engine bay. I mean, I do need to do the overdrive. I'll go on to that in just a moment. But if you can see the chassis number, V and DL, they're the important markings. And I'll explain why now. Oh, I've got the carpets out to dry in the sunshine. Being a nice warm day. Because the floors, as you will have remembered, were all full of water. Well, this passenger floor was. It's not actually hard to make these old cars watertight. You just need to spend you know, some time and effort on them, and really you need to take the screens out and clean the rubbers up and the body aperture and sort them out and seal it with an appropriate sealer, butyl rubber based. So that will be done in the future. But the floors, I mean, there are some historic repairs. You can tell that was done a long time ago. There's a lot of blistering through dampness, which has meant holes have developed, but that is the original pressing there with those shapes in, just to strengthen the panel. But on the whole, still pretty solid, you know. Doesn't warrant an entire new floor, but there are some localized repairs needed. I suspect this, you know, once I start digging and poking at it, it will probably get worse. It's generally the case that holes grow. One chap commented about the interior light, and I thank you for that. You've got a good memory. No reference in the owner's manual is made to this, but this chap said you pull out the lens there and the light is meant to come on. So you do have a good memory for that. In this case, yeah, see ya, yeah, enjoy. Interior light is meant to come on with that pulled out. Well, this lens is broken. It needs a new one. But it makes sense because I can now see the contacts here, which they should provide the earth path like so. They should be sprung, and when the lens is pulled out far enough, they should make contact with the lamp body. Inoperative at the moment. I need a new lens for it, so that's it's not a priority at the moment, but when I get hold of a new lens, if I can, maybe they can be 3D printed now. I'll see to that afterwards. Don't want to break it even more. I've just noticed this door seals as well, just literally this moment. That's Furflex. That's probably the original seal, and this is rubberized here. So that is what they ought to be, Furflex. Well, I would have thought. You can see remains of it there. And maybe the fur flex has worn off, I don't know. Maybe these have just been replaced, because it's always the fronts that were first, especially the driver's door. That's the first to go. I've glued that trim piece, that little escutcheon there, back on the radio. Save that going missing. Screen wash, as I say, it's now, because it was I've put it back to Posy Earth, it does actually work with the auto function now, which is nice. I did have to spray you know, a bit of fine spray oil in there, and it's much more responsive now. But as I say, the run-on auto feature is a bit temperamental, but not to worry. That other mess of wiring here, you know, from the wiper switch, I've repaired that. That's all seen to, if I can get a clearer picture. I've repaired all that and taped it up, so I'm a lot happier about that. Still not found out what that wire does yet. I'll have to do a bit of, you know, tracing with that, and with the wiring diagram as well. What I did want to say was, you know, when I've just showed you the chassis number, we're looking at the spare parts catalogue, Fletchamstead Highway, Coventry. I wonder what is there now. Here, so mine is a saloon right hand steering, because it's V, then the number, and DL. The overdrive cars, if it had overdrive from the factory, would be DLO. So as I suspected, this car has been retrofitted after it left the factory, probably much later in the car's life. It's been retrofitted with overdrive, which, you know, I did suspect, but it's a good thing. Overdrive is a very, very worthwhile extra, so I'm glad it has been fitted. I did the same on my Humber Super Snipe. Again, it didn't come with overdrive from the factory, but I fitted it because, as the advert said at the time, Laycock de Normanville overdrive is a must for motorways, and it is. I was going on to here to deal with the overdrive wiring. This is the wiring diagram, which I will be working to. As you can see, there is simply an operating switch, which is that on the steering column, and an isolator switch, which is at the gearbox. I've not been underneath yet to check what's there or not there. That'll be coming up when I get the car on the ramps, because I need to do you know, an underbody assessment as well. But that's the diagram I'll be working to. Now, it doesn't show wiring colours there, and you know that whoever installed it it's just used probably whatever was to hand. The other thing is, which I don't like about this parts book, if I can get to the electrical section, it's usually near the back here. So if I can get to this here, try and find the overdrive relay. Interesting that they've listed choke control under electrical equipment. So lighting, wipers on. Right, it's not there, I can't find it, but what I was going to say anyway isn't exactly relevant to that, just that. You see here we have a part number. Now all this is Lucas equipment. You know, this is standardized Lucas electrical equipment. What I don't like about this parts book is that it does not give the Lucas part number or type. So I know, for instance, the control box is an RB106 unit. I know that for a fact, but it doesn't say that on here, which is unhelpful now. But I suppose their idea was to you know, sort of force you into going to your standard dealer and just ordering these part numbers, so Standard Triumph could take their cut of the money. In the Humber parts book, it does list the Lucas number for it. Not so in this one, so I don't like that. Pop that there. Yeah, overdrive wiring. This is a very useful book. Really interesting and handy book. I must have bought years ago. I don't know where from, but it's very, very handy. It gives standardized, simplified wiring diagrams. You know, so there's practically every circuit there that you could need. We've got single speed wipers, 2-speed wipers, all, you know, standardized circuits. And the one that I want is this manual control circuit. So that's how I'm going to wire it. We've got a 4-terminal relay there. There's the gear switch, there's a steering column switch and solenoid, and it does list the colours here. So that is very, very handy, very useful to me. So we've got SP, that's slate purple, SG is slate green, S for slate, G for green. So that's the W for white. So yeah, very, very useful that, and it's what I'm going to work to in conjunction with the one in the workshop manual here. Again, just another slight criticism. You see these tabs at the side there? Well, that should be a quick reference, you know, to whatever section I want to get, but they only print the that tab on the first page of the section. If I can get to that, page 1511. Here you see, so engine. Well, I can't see that at a glance from the leaves of the book, but you know, a black felt tip pen will sort that out, which is what I'll do. This just saves going through, flicking through a load of pages. So yeah, that's it. Again, just another update, bit of wiring done, completed. Put my standard back to standard. Again, I found in a book that is correct. They did fit these for later cars like this one. And it'll just go underneath where you can see the part of the overdrive wiring there. That's to the solenoid, dangling very low, which makes it very vulnerable. You can see the actual wire at the solenoid is slate and purple. So that'll be coming up. I've sourced outer sills and wing repair panels. So yeah, I'll be cracking on with it as and when. In the meantime, it's just carrying on with the little jobs. I should disconnect the battery for safety, as you always should do. Right, see you again, and I should have it running again, because I've got more to say on this. There's a reason why that plug lead is disconnected, and that'll be coming up.